Hello guys, this is JP Sarri, and once again I'm here with another review, and this is another book review. It's been quite a while since I had the chance to have a book review, so this is an opportunity for me to get back on track, and this is with the Wonder Woman by George Perez. As you can see right here, this is the cover. I love this cover. This is just the in this case the dust jacket, and as you can see, this art, I love the art. George Perez, Len Wein, the late Len Wein, he passed away last year, and Bruce Patterson, DC Comics. This is Volume 1. There's a Volume 2 already in the market. Wonder Woman, George Perez Omnibus, DC Comics. And as you can see, the wonder of it all. And down there you see this deluxe omnibus edition collects issues 1 to 24 of the historic series, along with Wonder Woman Annual Number 1. And includes an insightful introduction by Perez, as well as a special bonus gallery of archival art and information. And you can see the price point, $75 in the US, $85 in Canada, printed and bound in Canada. Now, taking the dust jacket, you can see an introduction, Gods and Mortals. Very cool art on the dust jacket. As you can see also, look for George Perez work in the other omnibus editions, and you have the New Titans volume 1. You got volume 2, volume 3. I highly recommend this. This is one of the classics of the the era. The New Titans really was the real introduction of George Perez art. Definitely a phenomenal story. The art of George Perez, definitely one of the greatest of modern times. And as you can see right here, this is I love this actually. The cover, the wrap cover. This is actually was a poster that was actually given when you purchase one of the single issues of that run, the 1986 run. 1980, I think it was 86. That's when the Wonder Woman run started. But definitely love the art, everything, and this wraparound cover. Something that actually Marvel is doing with all the new omnibuses. They have that, so phenomenal. As we go inside the book, as you can see, Wonder Woman by George Perez. Love this intro. As you can see, love the design, the art design, the blue, the yellow. George Perez, and as you can see, it's written by George Perez and Len Wein. Len Wein, who passed away last year. Definitely a great writer. A great editor for DC, for Marvel. He did great stuff for them, involved in some of the greatest projects. He was the editor actually when Watchmen. So definitely a great person in the industry. One that will never, I think that will be missed. Greg Potter, he was actually the one that did all the dialogues. But you see the people that were involved: George Perez and other people, Brian Bolland, Chris Merrinan, Art Adams, Jen Bolton, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Kurt Swan, Russ Andrew, and inks by Bruce Patterson, and more people involved into this. Wonder Woman created by William Moulton Marston. And here there's a table of contents. I love this table of contents. I always love when books have that. I love the fact that the single issues are there, and the year that actually they were, these single issues were printed or they went out for sale, which is a really nice touch. The only thing I'm not a fan of this, and he has the actual page where you can go, is the fact that he doesn't include who was involved in the art, like Marvel does. Sometimes you have in the lineups who was the inker, who was the writer, all of that. So that for those that are like me that love historical facts, the fact that it's missing it, that information, it's a bummer, but well, not one that will kill this book. And here you have an introduction by George Perez. Very nice introduction. The way he talks about how he was very that was what he was looking for. He wanted to be part of Wonder Woman. He loved the character, and when he was given the chance, definitely he took it. And how grateful he is for that decision he made. This is not a new introduction. This was actually one that was done in December of 2003. That's actually when these books were coming out in the single collections, the paper trade backs that they have back in those days. and he did that introduction for the first volume. So here you have. I love the art. What can I say? George Perez. I'm sure you know about George Perez. You have heard about George Perez. I think now I love this. Definitely this cover. I love the art. I love the way he did it. They did retouch some of the art, digitally retouch it. It's not repainted, so it does the same as Marvel does. It still maintains the quality of the art, but in a way, it's not changing the art. So that's nice. And as you can see, I love this introduction, The Princess the Power. This is the introduction of this new story that in 1996. In this case, Potter was the scripter. He's the one that created, and you can see Greg Potter is a great writer. He was a great writer for a lot of these books, and definitely what he did here, he did a phenomenal. You can see that his ability, the way he does his writing, it can be it's enjoyable, and it shows maturity on the book. I think at that point when George Perez was just still caught plotting in the beginning, and he wanted to be part of, he needed somebody to guide him through the process so he could start creating his own stories. You can see that as the story goes along in the book, in this run, you can see a little bit of shakiness on the writing part from him, but as he moves along, he's more comfortable with the stories and the writing, and you can see an evolution of that art. Definitely, what I like about this run is the introduction, is the use of to that point, Wonder Woman has always this is Hercules, or Hercules by the Romans, but Hercules for the Greeks, and to that point you have seen a Wonder Woman stories where Wonder Woman was not as popular. It was always been popular because it's one of the original stories, or the original comic books, the original comic stories of the DC universe, alongside Batman, alongside Superman. But it always was a hit and a miss for most fans and for most writers. The stories got a bit convoluted. It was a lot constant change. Once George Perez took this job, he was coming from Teen Titans, and he was given that opportunity because Teen Titans was a very popular book. He saw the potential. He wanted to give it his own try. In that moment, DC was coming out of really trying to revamp a lot of the different stories. They did that with Superman, with in this case with Man of Steel, with John Byrne. They also were trying to revamp Batman with Year One. They were trying to do all kind of new things. After Infinite Crisis in Infinite Worlds. I'm sorry, I got a bit confused. So they wanted to revamp the whole story. So they give the opportunity to George Perez, who was a star artist at that moment. He was young, but he was hungry for more, and to create his own stories with Wonder Woman. And it took like fire. Definitely, this is one of the best, in my opinion, the best. Some people might disagree with it, but the best stories of Wonder Woman. And even the movie that we just enjoy, with in this case with Gal Gadot, that movie took a lot of inspiration from the stories here. One of the greatest things about the stories with Wonder Woman, particularly the Wonder Woman by George Perez, is the fact that in the origins of Wonder Woman, you can see she is a woman that is very, very strong, very powerful, but very human. That in many ways she feels, and how beautiful the art. Of course, George Perez is magnificent with the art. One of the things about this, I like this cover, very macabre, cover right here. One of the things that I like about George Perez is the fact that he brought that in this with this Wonder Woman. He brought that she is vulnerable, she is human, she's relatable, and you can see that he's very relatable in the story, and you can see that she's touchable. She has feelings. She's a woman. In many ways, she feels very vulnerable, emotions-wise. She is learning to live in a world that is dominated by man, because that's the main stories, the main plots. And she becomes a hero. And she has, she is very emotional, idealistic, And definitely the elements of a young woman that is being created to be a hero. That even though she is limited in many ways by her own emotions, she's very powerful inside. And definitely, I think they explore that and they use that, especially on the Wonder Woman of the movie, which I enjoy greatly. And I believe that that's the best Wonder Woman you can get. There's been many takes on Wonder Woman throughout the years. Some people, some writers, they do use more the human part. They actually emphasize that. Some others emphasize the warrior part. And there's been great runs of Wonder Woman, but definitely the one that I think balanced it well for me, or the one that I personally enjoy, has been, I think, George Perez run. George Perez, as you know, some of you know, he's Puerto Rican. Well, he was born in New York City, and I think, to be honest, I think in the Bronx. I don't remember well, but he was born in New York and with Puerto Rican parents. That makes him Puerto Rican, of course. Look at that art. He's phenomenal. I love this. One of my favorite covers. Look at that. She looks phenomenal. And you can see that take he does. One thing about George Perez is that he puts so much detail in his art. He's so prolific. He has done so much stuff for Marvel, for DC, and everything he does is just an exercise on in every single panel of adding detail. He's very detail oriented. Some artists, they emphasize just the aspects of the storytelling of the character. They're more character driven, and some are more plot driven, even though in the way they do the art. Some emphasize this, they have a cinematic sense, and I believe that that's one thing about George Perez. He had a cinematic view of things. He put so much detail, which add more depth to the stories that he's talking about, and you can see that here. You can see that depth throughout the stories. Each panel has a lot of detail. Many people have said which are the best artists that you can compare, and they even compared George Perez with John Byrne. I personally prefer John Byrne. That's my personal preference, but George Perez is not slouch, and for many, they will tell you that George Perez has surpassed in quality to John Byrne over time, because he's been so prolific on both sides of the spectrum. While John Byrne, really stopped doing a lot of stuff, and his art back in the 90s and the stuff that most recent has been a little more different. It's a bit different of what he did. I believe he has improved, but I believe that he has not been as prolific as, in this case, George Perez. That he's still, up to this day, has a lot of work to do. He does a lot of work, even though through his health issues, he goes to a lot of conventions, and he's always very, very active. Look at this cover. Look at all the detail. You can say this in this moment, and you can see in this story. I think this is the one where actually George Perez, and I think it started on this one, on the previous one. George Perez became actually the whole writer and plotter of his own work. That's when actually. The previous one just left, and he takes charge of the stories. And what can I say? It's definitely phenomenal to see that. You see all this detail. That's the part where George Perez is magnificent. He is detail oriented. There's a lot of detail in his panels. The way he does that adds up. He's the one that you can add as many characters on one single panel without missing a beat. Sometimes you have to make sacrifices when you press for time, and you have to take away some facial details, but he does still, adds that. And Wonder Woman, she looks perfect. Diana looks so phenomenal and beautiful in that. One thing I like about his Diana, or his Wonder Woman, is that beauty. As you know, and it's something that is normal. There's nothing wrong with this. All artists, they represent their own culture, on their own personal background, or their own concept of beauty through their stories that they create. Look at this. I love this panel. Nice. And like I said earlier, he's Puerto Rican, and definitely every time I see that Wonder Woman, I see Puerto Rican beauty in it. And why do I say that? You can ask. Well, in this case, I'm not Puerto Rican, but my wife is, and I've been surrounded by a lot of Puerto Ricans in my life. I do understand, their facial features, their physical features. Every race, every nationality, every ethnicity has some facial, physical features that make him beautiful. Like I think all human race is beautiful in itself. So you can see that in the beauty and the way that she stands, and the round of her face, the noses, all that. Which is not wrong. If you really look at every single artist, they represent their own background, their own cultural, racial, and ethnical background in every single art that they represent. And when I look at that, I can see that, from the hair, from the face, from the posture, from the dimensions of the body, the round features. To me, this is definitely, some people might disagree with me, but I can see this is a lot of Puerto Rican features are there. The exotic features. Her Wonder Woman, like I said, it's very round in features, beautiful, very womanly. One thing I'm not a fan of this collection is the fact that the covers are all presented like this, which is fine to me. I love the covers, natural covers. The only thing I'm not a fan is that it is not showing the actual way that it was presented in the original comic book and the comic cover, like Marvel does with their omnibuses. I wish it was that you can have maybe two options, maybe this, maybe that, maybe that's more paper. But in any case, it would have been nice for historical reasons, for purpose of preserving the art, to show people how things were when you have all the panels and all the information and all that stuff included. It would have been so great to have that in this collection. Regardless, I believe that it's phenomenal, and DC did a phenomenal job preserving that. And what can I say? It's just phenomenal, fantastic. The stories are nice. You can see a Wonder Woman. There is actually a statue created by DC Comics back in the day, some years back, probably over 10 years ago, diorama like this. So I'm glad that you can see that it was inspired on that, and definitely it's just fantastic. I love this. Deimos, one of the sons of Hades, all of that, and confrontation. I love this panel. Look at this. Hades look very terrifying, and you can see Diana there. The art, it's just definitely, and I think you can say about, like I said, about George Perez, it's the way he does the stories. His art is very vivid, it's very lively, it's very clean, it's perfect. For a lot of people nowadays, we live in a different time, where comics is more about big panels. Which, back in those days, people created big panels. But it was more about storytelling, how to go from point A to point B, how to represent the stories. Now it's all about pretty much covers and big splashes. Sometimes make some of the comic book stories incomprehensible. If you took away, this is one secret that you need to know about comic books, the way that you can become a really good storyteller. You have to be able to tell a story without the bubbles, without the words, without anything. If you're able to go from point A to point B to point C without those bubbles, then you can tell a story. You can actually create a story. You can even recreate a story and change even the conversation. If you're able to do that, people can follow through the eyes. It's all about making it easy for the reader, once you open a page, to follow through the single panels. When you do that, then you can tell a story. That's storytelling. And many of the new, younger comic book artists of this day don't do that because they were not trained to that purpose. They do not know how to do it. So that's where you see the difficulty. And for people that have been trained their eyes, especially if you grew up in this era of comics and the previous era between the 60s, 70s, and 80s, to really go through the eyes, to read through with your own eyes, then if you're not trained, it changes different. It's like going from comic books to manga. If you know those who read manga, and I have read manga, it takes time for you to train your eye to go from the opposite way, and you follow. That's how you've been trained. So that also creates a situation where a lot of the older comic book writers love this enter panel. Here you see more covers. A lot of the people feel that the inability of it, and to really understand this modern techniques. And it's just the way it is, modern techniques. And you see passages, and you can see the Justice League in the background. Love it. Some of the Justice League, and also, he Beast Boy. Love it. Definitely, I don't know. To me, this is a recommendation that I give to anybody. If you are a fan of Wonder Woman, this is a must read. This is a must have. If you're a fan of great storytelling, great stories, yes, this is it. A lot of times a lot of older, or younger comic book readers, they say, well, I don't like the old stuff because it's just boring. Well, I'm telling you, this will not be boring. You will find a very like on this. There is a sense of humanity on this story that I personally enjoy. I feel that present the humanity of Diana, of the Amazons, the humanity also of the gods. and in this case, Zeus and all the gods of the Greek mythology. He presents that. He humanizes that. There's a lot of mythology involved. In many ways, the George Perez to Wonder Woman is the same as Walter Simonson was for the Mighty Thor. It really brought the stories into a place of mythology, to modern take, to adventure, which something that was missing for Wonder Woman. Something that also, a lot of this stuff, the movies, and the other movies, or the TV series in the 70s, all that kind of took away from it. It really gives him that sense of heroism, of mythology, adventure, a great story, and definitely this has to be George Perez, in my opinion, introduction to writing, and one of his best, if not his best work, not art-wise, but story-wise. And I'm so glad, as you can see, we're halfway, and still there's a lot to cover. Definitely, I highly recommend it. I can even go faster to avoid, to waste time here. The art, phenomenal. I definitely love it. Love this. This is one of my favorite, and you can see the womanly features. To me, like I said, John Byrne and George Perez are phenomenal with their women. Their women are very womanly. Their features, their body, their curves, they are very womanly. And that's what I love the art of the way they do it. I wish more artists were like that. Sometimes artists take a lot of steps in to create women, given proportions that are disproportionate with the human body. Not so much with this artist. This is the school of more reality, having more reality. And nowadays you can see that not only in comic, because I see also in statues and see also in collectibles and a lot of things, is bring disproportionate amount of, features to people. But George Perez didn't do that. And as you can see, like I said, one thing I love it, even though in the small panels, you see a lot of detail. Like this panel, you see she's talking to this elderly man. You see all that background. Many artists don't do that. It's the easier way out just to not do that. Just to make a clear panel and just row two individuals on a panel. Not George Perez. George Perez doesn't do that. It's just phenomenal. He does that with the Marvel stuff. Look at the Marvel stuff. Look at the infinite gauntlet. Look at those things. Look at those things that he had done. Look at Teen Titans. Look at everything, the Avengers, everything that he did throughout the years. You will see so many panels, big panels with so many characters. So with so much detail. That's George Perez. That's his signature style. And as you can go along, the stories evolve. Phenomenal. Look at this, all the gods in Olympus. Love it. I love it. I'm a fan. I cannot recommend it even more. Love it. I love that beauty. I love that hair. I love that humanly body. Like I said, just to me, the Puerto Rican Wonder Woman. You can deny that. You can say that's not true. It's just my opinion. Jim Lee, his art is always, you can see the Asian features in all his characters. I would say George Perez does the same thing with his characters. A more Hispanic look with the women, more, round faces, beautiful faces. You can see some of Linda Carter, which was half Mexican. So that. In my opinion, there is those features, those Mediterranean, because Hispanics, they have Mediterranean also blood, through the Spanish blood. So it just, I don't know, it's just me. Am I just going beyond what some people would assume in this review, or would like me to talk about? But to be honest, it's just beautiful, and I love it. I love what I see. And definitely it's phenomenal. Look at this. If I'm not mistaken, I don't think this is George Perez. This is someone else that did the art following George Perez. But I can see that just by the features, the way the legs are, the way they're proportioned. I know it's not George Perez. I don't remember who that was. Maybe I can see it. Maybe I can see it here. But I think it was Bolland. I might be mistaken. But anyway. Oh no, it was Chris Merrinan. I told you. I can see that just by looking at the stuff. You can kind of know after a while, and I said that before, after you're following an artist for a while, you'll get to know the art, and you know exactly how they develop that art and how they do it, and you know what is a true art of an artist and what is an imitation of the art. So definitely, and inkers do a big part of the art too, so sometimes they don't take the credit that they deserve. So I love this art. This is the volume 1. There's a volume 2, and you can see right here, these are the extras. There's not many extras, as you can see. There's just a tiny little pages of extras. Another disappointment of this book, but it has some covers that were produced for different books, different collections. Here's the wrap-up cover, like that is outside the book. Too bad that it's not it was a poster. Instead of just having a wrap-up poster, they just put it in 2 different pages. Too bad. I just don't like that. Disappointment on that. Some covers, some extra art, not much stuff, not like Marvel does. A disappointment, but I think that's what DC does normally with their omnibuses. There is some stuff that is being taken of the guide of the DC universe. You see Wonder Woman, intro information about Wonder Woman. You have Ares. Got it. You have Decay. You have Demas and Phobos. You also have, it says Hippolyte, but it takes Hippolyta. That should be the right way to say it, of the the right Greek way. And Cheetah, which we're gonna see in the upcoming movie of Wonder Woman, which I'm excited. And more art. Not much stuff, like I said, just a few covers of the few trade paperbacks, a few collections that they were created for this, that you can still find. And then you have biographies. You have the biographies of George Perez, Len Wein, Bruce Patterson, Greg Potter. You have Dick Giordano, Buck McLeod, and Will Liburg. And then you have Bob Smith and Frank McLaughlin. Now, the question is, do I recommend this book? And my answer is yes, I highly recommend it. I do recommend it for every person that loves Wonder Woman as a character. It's definitely the best way to have the collection. You can have it also on the trade paperbacks. There's different volumes to confirm this. I think it's 4 volumes that are included here. Or you can have it on on digital. There's many ways you can have it. Definitely, I highly recommend it. In my opinion, the George Perez Wonder Woman is the definitive Wonder Woman story. Definitely the one that has been used in the movies. Definitely the one that most people are familiar with. Definitely the one that has been the inspiration for everyone that has followed. It's been on this story. It shows a human side of Wonder Woman, a humanly side. As a father, I have a daughter that is turning 18 soon. As a man in a society that is ruled by men, I feel that sometimes women don't give the chance to be women. Sometimes the idea, even the feminist idea, is women to be too strong, to be to win in a world of man, to be even sometimes more manly than they should be. I think that this Wonder Woman story presents a side of women being also about their feelings, about their heart, about their emotions, about their loyalties, about how they feel about other women, how they feel about the world, how they feel about family, how they feel about all those things. And I think all that is included. There's a second volume of this. I do not have that volume yet. I will purchase it. Honestly, I have never read that volume of all the stories in that volume. That's the second part of the George Perez run. I think it's going to be divided into 3 different omnibuses. I read the ones included here previously. I never read those beyond that, because I know George Perez did the art of this run. On the second volume, I don't think he did most of the art. Many other artists were involved. He did the writing part, and then on the third volume that it will be, I think, released, it will have also the final issues. Also, he was not involved as much in the art, which is fine. But definitely, if you want to see the beauty of George Perez art and Wonder Woman, this will be the collection to have. This will be a must-have, I think, more than the second volume. On the third volume, unless you're a completionist, which I am, so I definitely will have him at some point. Not a top priority for me right now, but definitely this is one that I highly, highly recommend. Phenomenal stories, phenomenal book, and phenomenal, collection and phenomenal omnibus from DC Comics. So once again, thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you can share this video in any of the platforms, you're more than welcome to do so. So once again, thank you, God bless, and I will see you on the next book review. Take care, my friends.